Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for asking my boyfriend to charge his family member for fraud. Backstory: my partner, 34 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for 5 years and have worked very hard to save for a home. We fell in love with a home 2 weeks ago and put down a down payment to secure the property. The home will not be completed until the end of 2022. We've met with a mortgage broker and builders financing representatives. My boyfriend's credit score was reported as poor last week, which shocked us. There was activity on the account that was entirely not his, as well as a credit card that had gone into default in the previous 6 months. This credit card was initially mine. However, my partner says he canceled the account and canceled the card in the middle of 2019. To cut a long tale short, we learned that a family member who lived with him a few years ago obtained the card at some time and has been using it on and off since 2019. They fell behind on payments in early 2020 to pay it off, then fell behind again in December of last year, and the account is now in default, with over $5,000 outstanding in penalties and late fees. Charges for shopping, news agencies, takeout meals, and pubs. Gambling. My partner has had no awareness of this since he hasn't had access to the account since he closed it, and hasn't received statements or alerts from the bank because a family member has routed them to their address. We can't get a bank loan for our home since they won't lend to my boyfriend with his credit the way it is. Our choices are to pursue fraud investigations and charges against a family member, enabling us to demonstrate that this is not my boyfriend's fault and successfully acquire the loan, or the boyfriend pays the loan. And we wait at least 2 years from the payment date for his credit to recover some of the damage. Option 2 puts us back at least 3 years in terms of establishing a family and living as homeowners. This will also prevent my partner from obtaining a bank loan to establish his own company, which he has been planning to launch for a few years. This has saddened us and caused a significant delay in our preparations. My guy dislikes confrontation and has chosen option 2. He has no intention of disclosing anything to the family member. He wants it all to go away and believes this family member is going through a difficult moment. I want my partner to face fraud charges and be investigated. We've worked too hard not to have our dream home and him having his own company. So, AITA for imposing my point of view on my boyfriend. Update: I discussed my worries with my boyfriend and told him that some of what he was saying me didn't make sense. He was certain that he knew nothing about the credit card or the apparent inquiries regarding payday loans on his credit account. My lover continues to refuse to start any fraud investigations against a family member, claiming that he would pay off the bill himself. But throughout our talk, he revealed some more details that he had been keeping from me. Throughout our relationship, he has struggled with lying. I've forgiven him in the past for his lies, but I can't keep forgiving the same problem every few months when he claims to improve, yet we end up at the same place every few months. And I'm not talking about little falsehoods here. I'm talking about enormous lies and even greater lies to cover up those lies. I know I'm foolish for believing him. So, in conclusion, my guy is no longer my boyfriend. When I discussed my worries with my partner, he ended up packing up his bag, marching out on me, and driving away. I hadn't seen him in person since then. This is how this guy handled a problem in our 5-year relationship. We haven't spoken much since, but I've accepted that my relationship is ended. I believe he expects me to forgive him like I have in the past. I've packed his belongings and will return to him when my city's 6th lockdown ends, but there is a happy ending to this tale. I communicated with my mortgage broker, as well as the property developers. I can't afford the initial townhouse I fell in love with on my own, but a smaller townhouse that I really liked became available, and I was accepted for it. Last month, I paid my deposit 3 days before my birthday. I purchased a home on my own. Story 2. AITA for telling my father's wife that I didn't care if anything happened to her child and refusing to look after her. My, male 53, father cheated on my, female 16, mother, female 4 to 5, with Susie, who had no idea he was married, female 34, who subsequently became pregnant. My father divorced my mother and married Susie only a few days afterwards. They have a daughter named May, who is currently around 20 months old and pregnant. I don't like my father or Susie, but I have to spend every other week with them since my father pays for my education and the custody arrangement. To be clear, I consider them both equally culpable for their affair, but this circumstance and the words said were aimed at Susie. I was at my father's home with a buddy in my room working on a school assignment. Susie entered the room, and the following exchange ensued. Susie asks if I can babysit May while she takes a brief shower. Me: no, and I asked her to go since we were working. Susie repeats herself and claims that it was just for 10 minutes while she had a fast shower. I advised her to have her father care after her since he was her father. Susie informed me that he was working, that she was my sister, that it would only be for 10 minutes, and that May could busy herself during this time. All I had to do was keep an eye on her. Me: her father could keep an eye on her if I simply kept an eye on her. Susie: your father is at work, and she asked me to do this one thing since she does everything for me. She'll be completely quiet, and you won't even notice she's there. Me: sure, I'll express my gratitude for wrecking my family and being a home wrecker by caring for your kid. Her father can keep an eye on her if she remains quiet. Susie began sobbing about how difficult it is to be a parent and pregnant, and how she was asking me to do this one thing and that I would understand when I was older. She informed me that my father was providing for our family and that he had requested me to do this one thing in return. She also warned me that he wouldn't be able to ensure that nothing horrible occurred to her in only 10 minutes. I told her she could take her into the toilet with her or wait till my father could be bothered to be a parent, but she said she needed 10 minutes alone time and that I should be sensitive to pregnant women. She kept insisting it was just for 10 minutes. This is when things became heated because I informed her that if anything horrible happened to May it would be her responsibility since she was a poor mom and that I didn't care. I told her that she could compel my father to behave like a dad, but I wasn't going to do it for her. She started yelling and weeping about how she was tired of my attitude and how I needed to start appreciating what she does for our family, but my buddy and I departed because we wanted to finish our job. My father was enraged by what I said and the fact that I couldn't be bothered to care after my sister for 10 minutes or be courteous to my stepmother. My mother told me that although I didn't have to watch after May or show appreciation or be kind, I shouldn't have labeled her a neglectful parent or implied that she would be held accountable if anything happened to May. Edit. While it may not be clear from this message, I have no ill will toward May or the future child. None. I have absolutely no feelings for them. Yes, I was outraged, furious, and so on at first, but I worked through it with my therapist and now realize that they cannot be faulted. It took my therapist reminding me, "You're also an innocent kid in this circumstance," for me to realize this. This was not something one of us deserved. My ill will is directed towards my father and Susie, which I'm working on with my therapist, but it's restricted since I have to live with them every other week. Update. I recently spoke with my father, who apologized for shouting at me. He said he was stressed out because of something at work, but I didn't deserve to be the object of his rage. He said that he never directed Susie to ask me to babysit May, and that she did not approach him as she typically did. He stated he could have cared for May and that I didn't have to, particularly since I had a friend around and we were working. Susie obviously assumed I could look after May since she overheard me and my buddy laughing and assumed we were finished working. He informed me that he had talked with her about it and that she would apologize to me the next time I saw her for her behavior. I'm spending the rest of the week with my mother, and he'll drop by next week to take me out to lunch. I apologized for claiming I didn't care what happened to May and said that this was not true. I told him I wasn't happy being responsible for May and that I felt burdened by having to worry about her safety against my will. I also told him that I didn't agree with what Susie said and that I'll never be able to forgive her for what she did to our family, but my father told me that I didn't have to and that he was sorry for everything that had occurred again. I asked if I might visit my therapist more often, and he said he'd speak to my mother about it. Thank you for all of your judgments. I'm trying to read as many as I can, but I'll continue to be nice and stay to myself around Susie as normal. My relationship with my father isn't great, but this phone conversation appeared to point in the right direction and made me feel better about the overall issue.